In this stately brownstone on the Upper East Side, craftspersons are hard at work, returning priceless pieces of art to their former glory.
We are a fine arts service firm celebrating our 103rd year this year. We sort of consider ourselves picture doctors. We do pretty much anything that a collector, art dealer, artist might need for their paintings. So we're really sort of one-stop shopping.
Not only is Loewy one of the oldest and largest fine arts services firms in the world, it is also one of the oldest businesses in New York City.
Well, the company was started in 1907 by Julius Loewy. My grandfather, Hilly Shar, started in the business sometime in the 20s, basically doing odd jobs. And over the years, he grew to love and perfect what was the best asset of the Loewy company, which is art restoration.
I got involved as a young boy under my father's tutelage, and after school, it was a choice of becoming a rock musician or making a living. So I opted for the latter.
Loewy's clients are a who's who of the fine art world.
The Rockefellers, the Bostwick family, the Phipps family, the Getty family. But I think one of the most exciting aspects of our clientele has been the association we've had with artists. Salvador Dali was also a frequent visitor at Loewy. He would look for a frame that might give him an inspiration to create a painting as eccentric as some of his paintings were. As a real person, he was that much more. And I used to have to change my schedule and become a night owl rather than a morning person, because that's what he did.
Paintings cared for by Loewy are some of the best-known images in the world, including Cézanne's Bather and Van Gogh's portrait of Joseph Roland. Loewy's relationship with a painting begins with its conservation.
This is our restoration room. This is where we take care of all of the conservation and restoration of paintings.
Loewy only uses materials and techniques which are reversible. That way, future restorers with perhaps better technology may be able to restore the painting even further.
Well, in the cleaning process, we're attempting to recapture what the artist had intended, not what had happened as a consequence of time. For instance, down here, there was an issue of there's a lot of cracks, light cracks showing, but what we do is, in a subtle way, just because subtle is better, just lightly, with a very small brush, go over them. We do it a few times.
It is detective work. I mean, every painting has its own story, and there are certain tools you can use aside from cleaning to figure out that story. I don't know if you can see, if you zoom in really close, see these little brown spots? That's fly excrement.
But conservation is only part of Loewy's story. They are also expert framers with an inventory matched by no one.
We have a collection of somewhere around 5,000 antique frames, which is the largest collection in America and possibly the largest in the world. It ranges from about the 16th century up through the early 20th century.
And in some ways, it is surprising how many overlook frames as an essential piece of a work of art. Some artists are even known to design the frame before they paint their piece. And they are works of art upon themselves, some of which are worth tens of thousands of dollars.
This is an 18th century Louis XIV frame, but it's also the perfect kind of a frame for your typical Impressionist picture, maybe a Monet, Sisley. This is what the Impressionist painters would have preferred for their work, as well as their dealers.
But this is not just matching a frame to a piece of art. Again, Loewy is full service when it comes to framing.
Well, this is a very interesting frame because it's a 17th century frame that's going to be put on a 17th century painting for a museum, and it's one of a pair. And we had a frame that just about fitted, but was about 8 inches off, so we've had to put the extensions into the corners.
And their framing expertise includes the age-old art of gilding.
The gold frame was used originally in the periods before incandescent light, and the reason to put a gold frame around your painting was so that it would reflect the light from candles and whatever else was around onto the painting. Well, what Mariana's doing right here is gilding this picture frame. The gold is as thin as possible. It's 1/100th the width of a sheet of paper. And in order to apply that to the frame, she's got to get a little bit of static electricity off her hand, which she's doing with a squirrel hair brush there, and then picks very delicately up that very, very thin sheet of paper and places it on the frame.
That attention to detail is just one of the reasons Loewy has managed to stay in business for literally generations.
One of the cliches, if you will, that I'd like people to understand is that despite the fact that you know, we do deal with Monets and Picassos and Renoirs and Van Dycks and Rembrandts on a daily basis, people should not feel intimidated to walk into Loewy, because a great deal of the work we do is with paintings that have sentimental value, that are meaningful to people in the neighborhood, whether it be ancestral portraits or even photographs of their children.
Something they understand well, for this has always been a business big on family.
Well, it's very heartwarming to you know, to walk into work every day and know that you have the support of your family, particularly your offspring. I was fortunate enough to have had a fabulous mentor in my father. It's a lifelong dream to be able to have that kind of relationship with my son and with my daughter. You know, that's a very rewarding kind of situation to be in.